Imagine this, a big, bright room in Africa full of important people. The president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, is walking down a line of American soldiers. He is smiling, shaking hands, and everyone is watching. Suddenly, one American soldier does something that shocks everyone. He does not shake the president's hand. He stands still. The room goes quiet. People cannot believe what they are seeing. Why did this soldier refuse? Was it disrespect? Was it a mistake? Or was there a secret reason? What happened next will surprise you even more. This is not just a story about a handshake. This is a story about respect, tradition, and a lesson that everyone needs to hear. The day began with the city of Ouagadougou, buzzing with excitement. Streets were filled with people waving flags, children running alongside the road, and music playing from every corner. The air was thick with the smell of grilled meat and sweet mangoes. Everyone was talking about the visit of the American soldiers. It was a big event. For many people, it was the first time they had seen American soldiers in real life. Some people were nervous, some were curious, but everyone was watching. President Traoré had planned this day for months. He wanted to show the world that Burkina Faso was a country of peace and hope. He wanted to show his people that they could stand tall and proud. He wore his best traditional clothes, a deep blue robe with golden patterns, and his face was full of energy. He had invited leaders from many villages, teachers, students, and even farmers from far away. The hall was decorated with colorful cloth and flowers. There were cameras everywhere, ready to send pictures to the world. The American soldiers arrived in their clean uniforms, standing in a straight line. They looked serious, but some of them smiled at the children waving outside. Among them was Sergeant Michael Carter. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a calm face. He had been in the army for 10 years and had traveled to many countries. But this visit was different for him. He felt something special in the air. He remembered his grandmother's stories about Africa, about respect, and about the meaning of a handshake. As a child, Michael had listened to his grandmother, Mama Essie, every night. She would sit by the window, her voice soft but strong, telling him about the old days in Ghana. She told him about chiefs who made peace with a handshake, and about times when a handshake was refused because trust was not yet built. She said, "Michael, a handshake is not just a hello. It is a promise. It is a sign that you trust the other person. Never give your hand if you do not mean it." Michael carried these words with him everywhere. Inside the hall, the ceremony began. The national anthem played and everyone stood up. The president gave a speech about friendship and unity. He spoke about the future, about working together and about learning from each other. The crowd clapped and cheered. Then it was time for the handshake line. The president walked slowly, shaking hands with each soldier, looking them in the eye and saying a few words. When he reached Michael, he stopped. He smiled and held out his hand. Michael stood straight, his hands at his sides. He did not move. The president's smile faded for a moment. The room went silent. People stared. Some gasped. The cameras kept flashing. In that moment, Michael remembered his grandmother's story about the broken handshake. In the story, two chiefs met to end a long fight. One chief did not shake hands because he was not sure if the other chief was honest. People were angry, but later the two chiefs talked. They shared their true feelings. They became friends, even without a handshake. Michael wanted to be sure before he made a promise. He wanted to know the president's heart. The news spread fast. Reporters rushed to send the story to the world. Social media was full of questions and opinions. Some people were angry, saying Michael had insulted the president. Others said maybe he had a good reason. Some people in Burkina Faso felt hurt, while others were just confused. In America, people argued about what had happened. The story was everywhere, but President Traoré did not get angry. He was a wise man. He wanted to understand. That evening, he sent a message to Michael, asking to meet him in private. Michael was nervous, but he agreed. They met in a small room, away from the cameras and the noise. The president asked, "Why did you not shake my hand?" Michael looked at him and said, "Sir, my grandmother taught me that a handshake is a promise. I wanted to know your heart before I made that promise." The president listened. He nodded. He told Michael about his own childhood, growing up in a small village. He talked about his dreams for Burkina Faso, about wanting peace and respect for his people. He spoke about the hard choices he had to make as a leader. Michael listened carefully. He saw the president's honesty. They talked for a long time, sharing stories about their families, their hopes, and their fears. They found that they had much in common. They both wanted to do what was right. The next morning, the city was buzzing again. People wondered what would happen next. There was another event, this time outside, in front of a big crowd. The president and Michael stood together. The president held out his hand again. This time, Michael smiled and shook it. The crowd cheered. The cameras flashed. This handshake was different. It was not just for show. It was real. It meant trust and respect. The story spread everywhere. People talked about the meaning of a handshake. They talked about respect and understanding. After that, Michael and the other soldiers traveled around Burkina Faso. They visited villages, schools, and markets. They met children who wanted to be soldiers, farmers who worked hard every day, and elders who told stories about the past. Michael listened to everyone. He learned about the culture, the food, and the music. He saw how people helped each other, even when life was hard. He shared his own stories too, about growing up in America, about his family, and about his dreams. One day, Michael visited a small school in a village. The children were excited to see him. They asked him questions about America, about the army, and about why he did not shake the president's hand. Michael told them about his grandmother's lesson. He said, "Respect is not just about what you do. It is about why you do it. Sometimes you have to wait and listen before you act." The children listened carefully. They understood. In another village, Michael met an old man named Baba. Baba was a storyteller. He told Michael about the history of Burkina Faso, about the times when people from different tribes did not trust each other. He said, "A handshake can end a fight, but only if it is honest." Michael nodded. He realized that the lesson from his grandmother was true everywhere. The story of Michael and President Traoré spread across the country. People talked about it in markets, in schools, and at home. Teachers used it to teach about respect and understanding. Parents told their children, "Always think before you act. Always try to understand others." Even in America, people talked about the story. They learned that sometimes waiting and listening is the best way to show respect. Michael's fellow soldiers also learned from the experience. At first, some of them were angry or embarrassed. But after hearing Michael's reason, they understood. They started to pay more attention to the people they met. They listened more, asked more questions, and tried to learn from the culture around them. The visit became more than just a mission. It became a lesson for everyone. President Traoré also changed. He saw how powerful a simple gesture could be. He started to listen more to his people, to ask more questions, and to build trust in new ways. He invited more visitors from other countries, always remembering the lesson of the handshake. He wanted every guest to feel respected and understood. The story became a legend. It was told in homes, in schools, and around fires. It taught people that we are all connected. Our actions matter. Even a small gesture like a handshake can have a big meaning. The story reminded everyone to be true to their hearts and to respect others. So, what is the lesson? In Africa, every story has a lesson. This story teaches us that respect is not just a gesture. It is a promise. It is about listening, understanding, and being honest. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to wait, to listen, and to understand before you act. The most powerful handshake is the one that comes after true understanding. The story of the American soldier and the African president shows us that respect can build bridges between people and nations. It shows us that tradition and wisdom are important. It reminds us to always think before we act, and always try to understand others. If you enjoyed this story, remember the lesson. The next time you reach out your hand, think about the promise you are making. Make sure your heart is ready. This is the story of the handshake that almost never happened, and the lesson that changed two men, two countries, and maybe even the world. And that, my friends, is the story of the day an American politician interrupted President Ibrahim Traoré on live TV, and how stories, not shouting, changed everything. If you enjoyed this story, if you learned something new, or if you just love hearing powerful tales from Africa and around the world, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the subscribe button, tap the bell so you never miss a story, and join our family of story lovers. Every week we bring you more amazing stories. Stories that inspire, stories that teach, stories that make you think. So stay with us, keep listening, and remember, sometimes a simple story can change the world.